Good morning. It is Friday. We've just about made it to the weekend, and you have made your way to find us here at the weather desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, broadcasting from the 13 News Now studios for Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina. And today we've got a great show lined up with a holiday fast approaching. A lot of folks wondering about travel plans or what the weather's going to be like over Thanksgiving. We have you covered as we tackle today's top weather headlines. Here are some of the other stories we are watching from around the country. You can see the folks back in Texas, specifically Texas Hill Country, dealing with more flash flooding with very heavy rain coming through that part of the Lone Star State yesterday. And remember, it was the Texas Hill Country that was hit so hard with the just devastating floods back in July. So we'll have an update on what's happening there. We also have a dust storm over western Texas, some video to show you from that. We're going to turn our attention out to the West Coast and a dramatic rescue near San Diego as there were some rough waters. Some folks got into trouble. We'll show you that rescue out there along the West Coast. Now, after that, we're going to talk about Melissa, okay? This happened 3 weeks ago, but they've confirmed Melissa has set another record. We'll show you what that record was. And again, you don't need us to just keep going on about how devastating it was to Jamaica and how hard Cuba was hit, but that storm was incredible. And when we look back on it, it's one that's going to live in the record books for a while. All right, we're going to talk about the art and the science of snowmaking. There's a little bit of both that go into that, including some new technology. We'll show you what some of the ski resorts are turning to. And this is something I think a lot of folks, there's already been a lot of buzz on the internet. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the outlooks here coming up over December. Parts of the country bracing for a very cold start to December. We talked about the polar vortex yesterday. We'll talk a little bit more about it today. But I've got that 30-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, and we'll share that kind of the way things are shaping up all across the country, not just here in Hampton Roads, but all across the country in terms of precip and temperatures. Also, I have Thanksgiving and the travel forecast leading up to Thanksgiving for the country. So a lot to break down for you. Of course, I'll have our full weekend weather coming up here across the 757 as well. But let's start with what's going on here with the satellite and the radar images. You see there's some unsettled weather back here in the southwest. We had the big rains across Texas, now rain spreading across the central part of the country, and a little bit of rain here in North Carolina. As I mentioned, our top 3 weather stories that we're going to start with, that flooding in the Texas Hill Country. We've got the haboob, or the windstorm, and the dust storm back across northwest Texas, and then back to San Diego, that third story on the rescue. We'll zoom in, start off with the Texas Hill Country, and here's where this was occurring. You can see Kerrville. Again, that was the area hardest hit with the devastating floods over the summer. But we're going to talk about Menard. Look at this heavy rain. This is a 24-hour loop, and you can see how that rain has been produced, and a lot of heavy rain at that, going all the way back to, I guess this is a 48-hour loop because we go back yesterday and just a little bit before that. The bottom line, a lot of heavy rain there in the hill country of Texas. And once again, they are dealing with the flash flooding. Nearly 5 months after the flash flooding claimed the lives of more than 138 people, including 25 young girls staying at Camp Mystic. This is a look at conditions in Menard. And again, as I showed you on the map, that's about an hour and a half away from Kerrville. Nearly a foot of rain has fallen since yesterday morning as that slow-moving storm system crawls across the state. And once it moves out, the threat isn't over. Another storm system is expected to soak the same area potentially later this weekend. Take a look at that. Now we're going to turn our attention to that second area pretty close to Lubbock. There's a little community just off to the southwest of it, Wolforth, Texas. Now check this out. This is a time lapse of a dust storm, which is also known as a haboob, moving through Wolforth yesterday. That's in the northwestern part of the state, as I just showed you, not far from Lubbock. But you can see that dust storm overtaking that area. All right, we're going to come back out to the maps because we're going to shift our attention from Texas all the way to the west coast and specifically Southern California. You can see another area of low pressure spinning here. A lot of wind coming in to the southwest coastline here around San Diego. As I put the winds on, you'll see this an area of low pressure right here, pretty much hanging out just off the coast of California. This made for some really dangerous conditions, and it was those dangerous waves and turbulent conditions that led to a dramatic rescue in San Diego. 2 men went into the ocean despite a direct warning from lifeguards to stay out of the water, and quickly they found out why they should have listened. Ryan Hill has the story.
I think having a healthy fear of the ocean is what makes lifeguards such great watermen, is that we know and we see what the ocean can do to us.
San Diego lifeguard Patrick McVan giving that knowledge to a group of spear fishermen in La Jolla. They were about to jump in the ocean just as last Friday's storm started.
The surf went from about 4 to 6 foot to about 6 to 8 foot over the course of about 3.5 hours. Me and my partner Austin, we came down and decided to have a conversation with them. We said, hey guys, today's probably just not the day for it.
McVan tells me one of the spear fishermen listened. The other 2 decided to jump in and test the turbulent ocean.
They took a couple waves right on the head. It really yard sailed all their gear.
McVan tells me he and Austin sprang into action to save them. Luckily, one of the men got out on his own. The other was getting slammed against the rocks.
Asked if he was all right, tried to make sure that he understood what was going on. He was really kind of disoriented, had been shaken up by the whole ordeal. So we started waving our arm to try and start to get medics going. He was pretty injured. So we put the can underneath of his arms, and you can see in the video that I take a couple waves on the head.
McVan and his partner were able to get the man to safety and checked out by medics.
The friend that was able to get out of the water walked up to me, and he said to me, I know that this probably isn't what you want to hear, but I'm so sorry. We should have listened to you.
While he tells me it's not his job to say, I told you so.
But at the end of the day, when the lifeguards come up to you and have that conversation, it's not because, like I said earlier, we're trying to be the fun police. It's just because we have been watching the conditions. We see it change over the course of the day. If we're saying to you, hey, today's probably not the day, we're being very serious.
A serious piece of advice from this lifeguard with more storms on the way. If you're ever in doubt, don't go out. Ryan Hill, ABC 10 News.
Such an important lesson there. We stress that right here in Virginia Beach and along our coast as well. When the lifeguards are out there and they are telling you don't go into this area or that area, we got to listen to them. Fortunately, they all survived, but what a rescue, and thank goodness for the men and women that are serving as lifeguards on both coasts. We really appreciate all the work that they do. All right, we're going to talk some more about the potential for heavy rain because, you know, this is a mature storm system, that area of low pressure, and there is an occluded front here. We've got warm and cool air kind of wrapped around this area of low pressure. It's going to produce more rain, especially a little farther to the east. You can see from Yuma up through Blythe and back over towards Palm Springs, this part of California and over into Arizona, dealing with the potential, the likelihood of flash flooding. So that has been an issue. We've already seen some flood advisories around LA and a flood warning there. Looks like it just popped back up. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We can take this full. I'll go ahead and pop up the first flood advisory, and that's for Glendale, Pasadena, Pomona, and Santa Clarita, LA County there. 1.5 million, almost 1.6 million folks. Earlier, there was a warning that expired. This new warning just popped up, and I want to go ahead and click on this. You can see the other area smaller, but this is for LA. And again, this has been extended, that flash flood warning. Okay, so earlier they had it, and it was set to expire just before the start of the weather desk. They've gone ahead and extended that 1 more hour. So again, heavy rain, some issues with runoff there. And again, Southern California doesn't always handle the flooding rains very well, especially when you consider all of the problems they've had with the wildfires and that scorched earth where they have burn scars. That water just runs off it just like pavement. There's very little absorption into the ground, so that can even create bigger threats for flash flooding. Now, as we turn our attention to another part of the country here, you'll notice from the northeast part of Kansas across much of north central Missouri, right along I-70 there, through southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, West Virginia, almost all of Kentucky and much of Tennessee. We have a level 1 threat. Again, not as great a threat as what you're looking at back across Southern California, but we have widespread rain and there is the potential for some excessive rainfall and maybe a little bit of flash flooding. We're also looking at some heavier rain right now down across portions of Alabama and Mississippi, some scattered showers back across East Texas. Want to take a closer look at the areas seeing rain? How about some snow back over the Rockies? You get out along the Front Range and you see the showers there, maybe a little bit of mixing, and then you get into portions of eastern Colorado and west Kansas. It's showers for the most part. That rain a little more intense there across the northern tier of Kansas, back into southeast Nebraska, some intense rain there south of Omaha, not too far from Tarkio, Missouri. Back around Kansas City and over towards St. Louis, just north of I-70, north of Columbia up through Moberly, Mexico, Missouri, some of these other areas up towards Bowling Green. They're seeing the moderate to heavier rain there, and that rain extends out to the east. Now down to the south as we turn our attention back across Tennessee, Nashville, wet this morning. We've got some showers there south of Jacksonville, and we're going to continue to watch that. More rain farther south as you get down into Alabama there. Off to the west of Birmingham, some showers, heavier rain down around Thomasville and areas out to the west of that. Jackson, Mississippi, southward, some areas of heavier rain as well. So that's what's going on right now. Hattiesburg, wet this morning, and we've got some showers scattered across North Carolina as well. Few showers showing up over the southern parts of the 13 News Now viewing area. Down around Elizabeth City, you might catch a stray sprinkle or two. The showers a little more widespread as you go farther west. Again, Perquimans, Chowan, some of those counties seeing some light sprinkles this morning. And mainland Dare seeing a couple of showers as well. All right, so that's what's out there right now. Let's talk about the threats moving forward. There is a level 1 severe weather threat for portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So those areas under the level 1 threat. It's interesting. You look at the wind threat, and it's a little bit narrower area that extends from Tennessee down through central Mississippi. Now we take a look at the hail threat. It's not really there today, not an elevated threat anyway. As we take a look at the tornadic threat, this is the area that we really need to watch. And again, it's not a tremendously elevated threat level, but it is up a little bit. So folks here from Mississippi to Alabama and again, Tennessee, southern Kentucky need to stay weather aware with that slightly elevated tornadic risk. That's what's happening out there right now. We're going to turn our attention back to the tropics and we talk to you about Melissa. We've got just over a week left in the hurricane season, and that storm, Melissa, is breaking yet another record. Now, we're talking about this system. Remember, it was the strongest hurricane at landfall in the Atlantic Basin on record. It tied the Labor Day storm of 1935 when Melissa came in with 892 millibars at the pressure at landfall. Well, again, it absolutely devastated Jamaica as a Category 5 storm, and it's considered obviously one of the strongest ever. So as we take a look now, the data shows it turns out there was a wind gust of 252 miles per hour that was recorded as Melissa approached Jamaica. That turns out, after taking a look at all of that, to be the highest wind recorded. So there you go, the highest wind on record. And again, that data was collected after a hurricane hunter dropped a batch of specifically developed weather instruments, what we call a drop sonde, into the storm. The National Science Foundation just verified the reading, so that means that 252 mile per hour wind gust is the highest wind speed ever recorded. The previous record was 248 mile per hour gust measured with these instruments during Typhoon Meiji in 2010. So there you go, the strongest winds recorded here with our instruments, 252 miles per hour. That'll be a trivia question for you somewhere down the road. All right, let's check the rest of the tropics. Right now, nothing happening in the Caribbean or the Gulf. East Coast looking good. The main development region also very quiet still. As I mentioned, we just have about a week, a little bit more than a week left. Things quiet in the Pacific. So at this point, no tropical activity expected. And let's hope it continues that way. Our beaches, things are looking very quiet right now. Look at how flat the water is right along the coast here in Virginia Beach. We do have cloudy skies with the Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. And again, water very flat in the Chesapeake Bay. We're talking waves maybe a foot and the seas only 2 to 3 feet. So very gentle out there, and the winds are light as well. All right, we're going to take a short break. You see some frost there on some of that vegetation. You know, we're talking about some colder topics when we come back. We'll have the art and science of snowmaking and that December outlook. Who's going to get colder? Who may stay a little bit above average? We'll talk about that. I also have your holiday travel. That's coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. We're so glad you're here, whether you're watching us on our 13 News Now Plus, or maybe you're watching us right now on YouTube. We're glad you found us, and let us know what you think. We love your comments and your feedback. Here's what we're going to talk about: snow. So many folks so excited, and some industries like ski resorts really depend on that snow. A lot of places also need the snow to help out with water and water management for the warmer months of the year. We're going to focus on ski resorts right now. They're getting ready to open for the winter season. But what happens when the weather doesn't cooperate? Increasingly, resorts are turning to a new class of experts whose full-time job is just figuring out the art and science of snowmaking. Connor McGill shows us more.
Well, they might as well call you Mr. Snow with your knowledge.
I don't know if I get that far, but I certainly love it.
Meet Brendan Ryan, a principal at Alpine Solutions. He's one of the experts ski resorts turn to as they try to adapt their snowmaking plans to a changing climate. For him, this all started early.
At one point, our neighbors came over and said, "Why is that boy outside in the snow?" And they couldn't get me inside. When I had an opportunity to dig into a little bit deeper and ultimately turn it into a career, I didn't stop.
And now that lifelong passion has turned into a national job, helping ski resorts from around the country figure out how to make snow when the weather doesn't always cooperate.
With climate change going on, snowmaking is becoming more and more important every year.
And that's why Sugar Bowl is thinking years ahead.
Currently, we actually are under a master plan project for our snowmaking system, which we want to expand.
Because even with some help from Mother Nature, snowmaking is still a science.
A lot of science.
There is a lot of science behind it, yeah. It's not just flipping on the guns and going. Just for example, right now when it's snowing, generally we can't make snow because it's too humid to do it.
And as temperatures and humidity swing more widely year to year, experts like Ryan have to customize plans for every mountain.
Every resort's different. I live in Conway, New Hampshire, and it's quite a bit different operating out there than it is, say, at Sugar Bowl. But it's exciting and it's amazing. At the end of the day, we're all trying to create an amazing skiing experience, by using air and water to make snow.
All right, gotta have that snow, and thank goodness they have the ability to generate that snow, because that makes all the difference in the world for the skiers, snowboarders, all of the tourism dollars and the economies that supports. So they'll continue to do that, and folks will continue to enjoy it, I'm sure. Now, the big question is, what do we have coming up as we get into the winter months? We've talked a lot about this, and folks have been wondering, okay, are we going to get this cold blast? There's been a lot of discussion about the polar vortex kind of getting a little disrupted and allowing colder air to spill southward as the polar vortex weakens a little bit. Some of that cold air may work down across Canada and into portions of the northern United States. I've gone ahead and pulled the 30-day outlooks. We're going to get into what you can expect in December. Let's start off by looking at the 8 to 14-day outlook, and we can take this full. As we do, you're going to find the conditions pretty much looking wet across portions of the north central U.S., Billings, Montana. You can see central and eastern portions of Montana expecting above average or wetter than normal rainfall, probably a little bit wetter than normal around the Great Lakes region, back across the Ohio River Valley and all the way down through the central U.S. Really the only area drier than normal, and this is out 8 to 14 days, talking about the West Coast. And again, that's not a bad thing. Remember, they were slammed with the atmospheric river, bringing tons of moisture into that area. They're good on rainfall right now in this region, so they're going to likely be a little bit drier than normal. Things looking pretty close to normal from the Carolinas down through Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, even Louisiana down around New Orleans. As you look up into the Northeast and here in the Mid-Atlantic, close to average, maybe slightly above average with the rainfall. Now, as we take a look at temperatures, here's that colder air pooling down and spilling down as we get into that early part of December. This is for the dates between the 29th of November and December 5th. So still above normal out on the West Coast. Southeast U.S. likely a little bit above normal. Hampton Roads, if you're wondering, close to, maybe slightly above normal. But once you get up into New England and parts of the northern tier of the U.S., you're looking at temperatures likely to be below average. So some of that colder air eventually finding its way down across the northern tier of the U.S. As far as the overall outlook for December, and this was an update just released. Today is the 21st. This came out yesterday from the Climate Prediction Center. And this latest outlook calling for above normal precipitation through the month of December for Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. You know the ski resorts loving that up around Jackson Hole. How about the Boyne Mountain ski resorts up into Michigan? And parts of the Northeast U.S., they're going to enjoy it. Back down across the Ohio River Valley, we've got some wetter than normal conditions. We're going to be close to average here in Hampton Roads, drier than normal for the Southeast, and back down over West Texas as well. Now, the question about temperatures, and this has got a lot of folks wondering, still below normal from the Great Lakes back across the northern tier, looking like it could be a pretty cold December for this part of the country. But here in Hampton Roads, down through southeast United States, including Florida, and back out to the southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, up into southern Utah, Colorado, and back out through the west coast, temperatures expected to be slightly above average. When you take all the highs and all the lows, you put them all together and compare it to the normal temperatures for the month of December, these areas should be a little bit above. So you hear a lot about the cold coming down, and I do think there will be some cold, really cold conditions spilling into the north central U.S. But for Hampton Roads, by the end of December, this is how the models are kind of handling it in general, talking about that 30-day outlook. That's December. All right, we're only 6 days until Thanksgiving. A lot of folks starting to focus on holiday travel plans. And Wednesday, if you're going to be hitting the road, we've got wet conditions expected across the mid-Atlantic. Looking good if you're headed down to Orlando. What a place to spend this upcoming holiday weekend. 85 in Orlando, 74 in New Orleans, Cleveland, chilly, 44. Chicago, cold at 39, 48 in St. Louis, 58 at Little Rock. Things pretty quiet, though, in the central U.S. for Wednesday, and travel out west looks good. You've got some shower chances, though, up around Seattle. For Thanksgiving Day, specifically here in Hampton Roads, we have chances for showers in the morning, but I think we're going to see afternoon clearing. So this sprinkle here, this shower that you see very, very early, clearing later on, temperatures in the upper 50s. Out towards Richmond, we'll see that sunshine a little more abundantly, and up towards Wallops, again, sprinkles in the morning, improvements through the afternoon. That's what you're looking at, afternoon temperatures across the region on Thanksgiving Day. Not too bad. All right, as we take a look at the travel forecast for Thursday, again, behind that system, as those showers exit early in the morning on Thanksgiving Day, we'll see much nicer weather up and down the East Coast. Looking pretty good across the central U.S. and once again out to the west. Temperatures not too bad. L.A., San Francisco, Vegas, all looking good for Thanksgiving Day. Some snow up around Billings and some more rain showers around Seattle. Here's a look at our weekend preview. We've got a lot going on here in Hampton Roads. Temperatures upper 60s on Saturday, showers possible. We've got the warm up, and then much cooler on Sunday. The rain chances, I think, come during the afternoon, and then we're going to see improvements coming into the evening. And that's a great thing because we have the grand illumination and the big parade in downtown Norfolk. I think it's going to be mostly to partly cloudy. The showers should be out before the illumination and the parade, so that's good news. Low risk of a shower during the late afternoon or early evening. I just don't see it happening. Right now, the models are drying us out, so let's hope that continues. We're looking pretty good for tomorrow night. All right, here's the outlook for the next 9 hours as we look ahead. You notice chances for showers as we get into the afternoon. Low 60s for Hampton Roads. We've got wet weather down to the south. That we know. Will we see any farther north? You can see some showers here breaking this way, but it's all kind of moving east-southeast. So as this line comes in, I think we will see a chance for showers this afternoon, but a lot of the wet weather a little farther to the south. We'll get into Hampton Roads and take a look at the future cast here. As you can see, some showers down to the south later this afternoon. That chance for showers coming through. I do think we'll see drier conditions late afternoon and into the evening, but then some additional spotty showers will be possible overnight. I think we will see a little bit of that. Saturday looks good early, but more showers coming in later in the day as we get into the late afternoon and evening. It's looking good for Hampton Roads. Maybe some wet weather lingering down across eastern North Carolina. Later Saturday, things looking good, but the winds shift to the north, and that sets up a cooler day with more sunshine. Temperatures in the upper 50s with temps closer to 60 farther inland. All right, here's the forecast for today, low 60s. We've got our chance for showers. Again, hit and miss, not the heaviest rain in the world, but a few showers possible. We'll see mostly cloudy skies for the peninsula, the middle peninsula, and up to the eastern shore. You notice the drier conditions farther north, better chances for showers. South side and into northeast North Carolina, rain happening now, and again, possible through the afternoon, so plan on that. Overnight tonight, showers still possible, if not likely. They'll be isolated, but I do think we'll see some passing activity. Lows down around 55 for tomorrow, back up to 67, mostly cloudy and warmer, and we do have that chance for a few isolated to scattered showers. Here's the rest of the 7-day forecast. We do cool it down Sunday and Monday. Upper 50s, back into the mid 60s on Tuesday, closer to 70 on Wednesday. And then for Thanksgiving, that cooler push. I do expect scattered showers on Wednesday, but as we get into Thursday, we should dry out and clear out after a few morning showers early on. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. Let me remind you, you can always get the latest news, traffic, and weather on the go with the 13 News Now mobile app. You can scan that QR code if your phone's ready. Make sure you've got the app. It is a great resource. I wish you a fantastic weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time from the Weather Desk.